notepads.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think this is bad. The House will be in order. The first order of business is roll call. The clerk will unlock the machines and the members will record their presence. Will cast their presence. Has every member recorded their presence? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. Representative McLean is here, and we have her down. The roll call shows 61 present, 9 absent, excused, a quorum being present. The House is ready for business. The second order of business is prayer by the chaplain, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Today the prayer will be led by House Pastor Tom Doherty, and the pledge will be led by House Page Joseph Andrus. Will the guests in the gallery please rise?
Proverbs chapter 21, verse 29 and 30. There is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord. The horse is made ready for the day of battle, but victory rests with the Lord. Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we stand before you this morning asking you to guide this house and to be with every single person here. Lord, we want to succeed. We want to make great choices. We want to lead our great state. And Lord, we ask that you would lead us to victory in those things that will shape our state in a great way. Thank you for the diligence of these leaders and their faithfulness to this state. Continue to give them the time they need to accomplish the task before them. Give them the patience they need in dealing with each other and with their constituents. Lord, I'm thankful for these people and their willingness to put their own agendas aside to see Idaho move forward. Bring great success to this day and guide our thoughts. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The House will now advance to the third order of business, approval of the journal. The House is at the third order.
March 15, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary, Rules and Administration report that we have read and approved the House Journal of the 67th Legislative Day and recommend same be adopted as corrected. Moved by Wills, seconded by Burgoyne.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries and the report is adopted. The House will now advance to the fourth order of business, consideration of messages from the Governor and the Senate. The House is at the fourth order.
From the Office of the Governor, a certificate of appointment. Know all men that pursuant to provisions of Section 59-917 Idaho Code, Matt Erpelding, State Representative, District 19, Seat A, Ada County, State of Idaho, has nominated Lauren McLean of Boise, Idaho, to perform the duties of this office temporarily as acting state representative, District 19, Seat A. Now, therefore, I, C.L. Butch Otter, Governor of the State of Idaho, by the virtue of authority vested in me, do hereby appoint Lauren McLean of Boise to the office of acting state representative, District 9, Seat A, for a term commencing March 15, 2013, and continuing until March 19, 2013. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the Great Seal of the State of Idaho at the Capitol in Boise on this 11th day of March in the year of our Lord 2013 and the independence of the United States of America 237th year by the Governor, C.L. Butch Otter, and Secretary of State Ben Usursa.
The certificate of appointment for Representative McLean will be filed in the office of the Chief Clerk, and the oath of office has been previously administered.
March 15th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, this is from the Senate. I transmit herewith enrolled Senate Bill 1089 for the signature of the Speaker, Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
Senate Bill 1089 will be signed by the Speaker and returned to the Senate.
March 14th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, I transmit herewith Senate Bills 1052, 1053, 1054, 1133 as amended, 1138 as amended, and 1106 as amended, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
Senate Bills 1152, 1153, 1154, 1133 as amended, 1138 as amended, and Senate Bill 1106 as amended will be filed for the first reading.
March 14th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, I return herewith House Bills 53, 159, 105, 252, 254, 262, 263, 43, and 100, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bills 53, 159, 105, 252, 254, 262, 263, 43, and House Bill 100 will all be referred to the Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee for enrolling. The House will now advance to the fifth order of business, report of standing committees. The House is at the fifth order.
March 15th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have printed House amendments to House Bill 231 and 265. Will's Chairman. March 15th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have printed House Bills 296, 97, 98, 99, 300, 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, 306, and 307. Will's Chairman.
House Bills 296 through 306 inclusive will all be filed for second reading. House Bill 307 will be referred to the Education Committee.
March 15th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have enrolled House Bills 26, 44, 46, 118, 117, 188, 211, 140, 107, 161, 181, House Joint Memorial 1, House Bills 55, 251, 253, 255, and House Bill 177 as amended in the Senate. Will's Chairman.
House Bills 26, 44, 46, 118, 117, 188, 211, 140, 107, 161, 181, House Joint Memorial 1, House Bills 55, 251, 253, 255, and House Bill 177 as amended in the Senate will be signed by the Speaker and returned to the Senate for the signature of the President.
March 15th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have engrossed House Bill 231 as amended and House Bill 265 as amended. Will's Chairman.
House Bills 231 as amended and House Bill 265 as amended will be filed for first reading of engrossed bills.
March 14th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Health and Welfare report that we have had under consideration House Bill 291 and recommend that it do pass. Wood Chairman.
House Bill 291 will be filed for the second reading.
March 14th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on State Affairs report that we have had under consideration House Joint Memorial 2 and Senate Bill 1080 and recommend that they do pass. Lurcher Chairman.
House Joint Memorial 2 and Senate Bill 1080 will be filed for second reading.
March 14th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Education report that we have had under consideration House Bill 78 and recommend that it do pass. DeMordaunt, Chairman.
Senate Bill 1078 will be filed for second reading.
March 14th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Local Government report that we have had under consideration House Bill 80 and recommend that it do pass. Barrett, Chairman.
House Bill number 80 will be filed for second reading.
March 15th, 2013. Mr. Speaker, will your Committee on Environment, Energy, and Technology report that we have had under consideration House Bill 271 and Senate Bill 1112 and recommend that they do pass. Raybould, Chairman.
House Bill 271 and Senate Bill 1112 will be filed for second reading. Without objection, the House will now advance to the seventh order of business, motions, memorials, and resolutions. The House is at the seventh order.
In the House of Representatives, House Concurrent Resolution Number 27 by State Affairs Committee, a concurrent resolution providing for printing the session laws, fixing the price for printing the same, and the price which the public shall be charged for copies of the session laws. House Concurrent Resolution Number 28 by State Affairs Committee, a concurrent resolution stating findings of the legislature and authorizing the Legislative Council to appoint an interim committee to undertake and complete a study of the alcoholic beverage laws of the state of Idaho. House Concurrent Resolution Number 29 by Ways and Means Committee, a concurrent resolution stating legislative findings and recognizing the Idaho Public Utilities Commission on its 100th anniversary.
House Concurrent Resolutions 27, 28, and 29 will be referred to the Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee for printing. The House will now advance to the 8th order of business, introduction, first reading, and reference of bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the 8th order.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill Number 308 by Health and Welfare Committee, an act relating to the indigent sick, amending Section 31-863 Idaho Code to revise the limit on an ad valorem tax and to remove reference to the medically indigent, amending Section 31-3401 Idaho Code to provide a correct code reference, repealing 38 sections in Title 31 to remove reference to services for the medically indigent, relating to reciprocal agreements and out-of-state treatment, relating to Medicaid eligibility determination, relating to medical home, relating to time and manner of filing applications for financial assistance, relating to arbitration, relating to administrative offsets and collections by hospitals and providers, relating to violations and penalties, relating to establishment of catastrophic health care cost program, relating to contract for provision of necessary medical services for the medically indigent, relating to advisory panel for pre-litigation consideration of indigent resource eligibility claims and procedure, and repealing Section 57-813 Idaho Code relating to catastrophic health care cost account and providing an effective date. House Bill Number 309 by Health and Welfare Committee, an act relating to medical assistance, amending Section 56-254 Idaho Code to revise provisions relating to the benchmark plan for low-income individuals, to revise provisions relating to the benchmark plan for persons with disabilities or special health needs, to provide a benchmark plan for low-income adults, and to provide a correct code reference, amending Section 56-255 to provide health benefit plan for low-income adults and to provide a correct code reference and providing an effective date. House Bill Number 310 by Appropriations Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Department of Health and Welfare for the Division of Independent Counsels, Indirect Support Services, and Licensing and Certification for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions, providing for general fund transfers to the Corporate Welfare Fund, directing expenditures for trustee and benefit payments, providing legislative intent for program integrity, directing monthly Medicaid tracking reports, directing reporting for the Medicaid program integrity unit collections, and clarifying funding for Medicaid readiness, and providing guidance for employee compensation.
House Bills 308, 309, and 310 will be referred to the Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee for printing.
From the Senate, Senate Bill Number 1152 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Division of Professional Technical Education for fiscal year 2014, providing guidance for employee compensation, exempting appropriation object transfer limitations for the post-secondary program, and providing non-general fund reapportionment for fiscal year 2014. Senate Bill Number 1153 by Finance Committee, an act reducing the appropriation to the Catastrophic Health Care Cost Fund and directing a transfer for fiscal year 2013 and declaring an emergency. Senate Bill Number 1154 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Idaho Commission for Libraries for fiscal year 2014, limiting the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions and providing guidance for employee compensation. Senate Bill Number 1133, as amended by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to school security plans, amending the heading for Chapter 18, Title 33, amending Chapter 18, Title 33 by the addition of a new Section 33-1804 to establish provisions for the school security plans and to provide that certain plans and reports are confidential and exempt from disclosure, and amending Section 9-340B Idaho Code to provide that certain plans, results, and reports are exempt from disclosure. Senate Bill Number 1038, as amended by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to the Local Planning Act, amending Section 67-65511 Idaho Code to provide that overlay zoning districts have specific standards, to provide correct code reference, and to make technical corrections, amending Section 67, 65, 22, and 6535 to enumerate express standards regarding the Local Planning Act, to provide procedures for reconsideration, to provide standards for appeal, and to make technical correction and amending Section 31, 1425, and 31, 3908A to provide correct code references. Senate Bill number 1106 as amended by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to health savings accounts, providing legislative intent, amending Chapter 57, Title 67 Idaho Code by the addition of new Section 67, 57, 61B to provide for health savings plans for state employees who choose a high deductible health plan, to define terms to provide for deposits into health savings accounts by employers, to provide for contribution of funds to health savings account by state employees, and to authorize the Department of Administration to promulgate rules.
Senate Bills 1152, 1153, and 1154 will be filed for second reading. Senate Bill 1133 as amended will be referred to the Education Committee. Senate Bill 1138 as amended will be referred to the State Affairs Committee. And Senate Bill 1106 as amended will be referred to the Commerce and Human Resource Committee. The House will now advance to the ninth order of business, first reading of engrossed bills. The House is at the ninth order.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill 231 as amended by State Affairs Committee regarding Public Works. House Bill 265 as amended by State Affairs Committee regarding Public Work.
House Bills 231 as amended and 265 as amended will be filed for second reading. The House will now advance to the 10th order of business, second reading of bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the 10th order.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill 268 by Health and Welfare Committee regarding minors' tanning devices. Senate Bill 1107 as amended by State Affairs Committee regarding revenue and taxation. Senate Bill 1111 by State Affairs Committee regarding Condominium Property Act. House Bill 275 by Education Committee regarding education. Senate Concurrent Resolution 120 by Judiciary and Rules Committee regarding Boise School District Read-Write Award. House Bill 130 as amended in the Senate by Resources and Conservation Committee regarding irrigation districts elections. House Bill 167 as amended in the Senate by Transportation and Defense Committee regarding motor vehicle dealers and salesmen.
House Bill 268, Senate Bills 1107 as amended, 1111, House Bill 275, Senate Concurrent Resolution 120, House Bills 130 as amended in the Senate, and 167 as amended in the Senate will all be filed for the third reading. The House will now advance to the 11th order of business, third reading of bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the 11th order. The gentleman from District 14.
Mr. Speaker, point of personal privilege.
The gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, members of the House, it's my intention to run at least try to get that first column down and maybe part of the second column. I don't think we'll do lunch. We'll just work through. So maybe 12, 12:30 or sooner, depending on how things go today. And there's a few bills and a few of the sponsors that are gone, and you'll see me stand up and hold those as we get to them. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that House Bill 38 be placed at the bottom of the third reading calendar.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, House Bill 38 will be placed at the bottom of the third reading calendar. The House will have under consideration House Bill 256.
Mr. Speaker.
Good lady from District 33.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that we dispense with further reading of House Bill 256.
You all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good lady is recognized to open the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 256 will amend several provisions of the Child Protective Act and the Termination of Parent and Child Relationship Act. As declared in the Child Protective Act, Idaho Code 16-1601, it is the policy of the state of Idaho to protect any child whose life, health, or welfare is endangered. This act establishes the legal framework for the judicial processing and review of any child abuse case, and that includes abandonment or neglect case. At all times, the health and safety of the child shall be the primary concern. This bill is the result of 2 years of work by the Idaho Supreme Court's Child Protection Committee. The committee is comprised of 7 judges, 1 from each judicial district, 3 prosecutors, 2 public defenders, representatives from the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare, the court-appointed Special Advocates Program, the Casey Family Program, and a professor of the University of Idaho School of Law, and a tribal attorney from the Nez Perce tribe and other child welfare experts. These amendments would improve the implementation of the Child Protective Act and the Termination of Parent and Child Relationship Act by first clarifying the timelines for unification, guardianship, termination of parental rights, and adoption to help children achieve permanency on a timely basis. 2, clarifying definitions to be consistent with the current practice and aligned with federal law. 3, restructuring the placement of language from the child protection statutes and the juvenile rules to provide a clear description of the matters to be considered and findings to be made at the various hearings that are held in the course of a child protection case. The Child Protection Committee studied the relevant rules and statutes and the federal requirements. These statutes that did not make any significant substance changes. Rather, we are just clarifying definitions, timelines, and issues addressed at the court hearings. This is a good bill. It passed out of committee with a do pass recommendation, and I ask for your green light.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall House Bill 256 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Representative Collins, has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? Representative Rushi, welcome back. Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 61 aye, 1 nay, 8 absent, excused. House Bill 256 has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none, House Bill 256 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration House Bill 293. Good lady from District 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 293.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good body. This morning, House Bill 293 is an appropriations bill for the 2014 budget, and if you still have the handout that I passed out a week or so ago, it specifically is dealing with the 3 divisions of the Health and Welfare Department that are on that chart, and together they make up a group called the Division of Behavioral Health. So with that, then I'll just give you a brief overview of what this particular appropriation is about. And there are a number of paragraphs about specific line items, which I can answer if you're interested, but I just would now like to ask your vote for yes on the overview, which is this. This fiscal year 2014 appropriation is for the divisions of mental health services, psychiatric hospitalization, and substance abuse treatment and preventive services in the Department of Health and Welfare. These 3 divisions together are commonly referred to as the Division of Behavioral Health Sciences. In addition to children and adult mental health and substance abuse services, the division also operates the state hospitals in Orofino and Blackfoot. This bill appropriates $32,427,000 and 281.8 FTP full-time persons for mental health services, $30,877,000 and 361.45 FTP for psychiatric hospitalization, and $17,108,900 and 15.76 FTP for substance abuse treatment and prevention services. So that's the overview, and I'd ask you to approve this bill this morning. Thank you. And if you have questions, I can give them.
Is there further debate? Gentleman from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the good lady yield to question?
Will the lady yield?
The lady yields.
The lady yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good lady. I noticed that this is a smaller budget than previously. Was there discussion in committee about increased lengths of stay and more difficulty with receiving mental health services in our communities?
Lady from 6.
Thank you, good gentleman from 6. One of the things that we tried to do in looking at the health and welfare and the overall department budgets was to examine very closely the number of full-time FTP assigned to the different divisions. And often it would turn out that there were unfilled headcount or FTP positions that either were funded or unfunded, but they were unfilled. And the department, with a lot of input from the agencies, the division manager, administrators, and the analysts, determined that they would be able to reduce the number of FTP and therefore of the benefit and trustee items required for the department. And so that was one item that was important and rippled throughout the whole department. So there was a cost savings to the general fund using those calculations. And then the second thing was to take a look at the way various items are funded, whether from dedicated funds or general funds, and to try to reduce the impact on general fund disbursements by juggling the way things were funded. So that it is smaller. I mean, the total budget is larger, but some items were smaller, and then there were some other complex changes that are part of the formulas.
Is there further debate?
Thank you, Mr.
Gentleman from
Speaker.
6.
Another question, if I might.
Will the lady yield?
The lady yields.
Lady yield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good lady. You say the budget is higher. However, on the last line on the statement of purpose, it says that it's 0.4% lower than the 2013 appropriation.
Lady from 6.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I should clarify how I described it. Some of the line items, some of the funding, for example, in the general fund, year over year is 3.7%, as you can see on the detail that's included with the bill information. The total at the total bottom line, indeed, is 0.4% less.
Gentleman from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One last question.
Will the lady yield?
The lady yields.
The lady yield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good lady. How does this compare with mental health services budget for prior years, particularly in 2008?
Lady from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry I'm not able to answer anything about the 2008 budgets. This was 2014, and I was not here at that time and don't have figures for that period of time.
Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from 6.
Mr. Speaker, to debate.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the good lady for her answers, and I do recognize that she was not here when we did the 2008 and 2009 budget.
And the gentleman might have known the answer to that question.
Yes, and for that I apologize.
Duly noted.
I would not have been surprised, however, with her diligence that she would have looked back at prior budgets. Mr. Speaker, I think that this is inadequate. We know that our lengths of stay in the psychiatric hospitals are increasing because we have not staffed adequately. We are no longer pursuing accreditation of State Hospital North. because of the cost. So we'll have we will continue to have an unaccredited psychiatric hospital. We have withdrawn mental health services in many of our rural communities because of lowered budget, and we're millions of dollars short of where we were, millions of dollars short of where we were, and certainly of the need in the state. I think that if you talk to the sheriffs, the courts, the communities around the state, they all say, we need help, and this budget just does not do it. And for that reason, I'll vote no.
Further debate. Good lady from District 25.
Sorry about that, Mr. Speaker. Of course, the budgets are lower than they were at that time, and the good lady has done a tremendous amount of work on this budget. But I will tell you one thing, as you get into the details, the Access to Recovery grant, mind you, doesn't last except the duration, was over appropriated at $3.1 million. And when you back out that type of activity, and I think we only put in about $900,000 back in for the spending authority, and make sure that spending authority works with what is available, that really did show up in this budget. So, good gentlemen, that is a detail that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Gentleman from 16.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Simply to add to what the good gentleman from 6 had to say, when we underspend on mental health in the Department of Health and Welfare, we end up spending, in my judgment, multiples of the money we purportedly save in this budget when we consider what happens in our jails around the state, what happens with the Department of Corrections, what happens with our police departments, what happens with our sheriffs, essentially having to deal with mental health by arrest, confrontation on the streets of our cities and towns, and dealing with mental health by incarceration. I think that we need to be much more aggressive about dealing with our mental health issues in Idaho. Indeed, I've received a very good deal of mail this session about that issue, that precise issue, that one of the ways we need to deal with the issue of violence in our society is to address the issue of mental health. One of the ways that we need to deal with the issue of weapons in our society is with the issue, by addressing the issue of mental health. And that has been a recurring theme not only from my constituents, but from public policy officials at the state and local level. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Good lady from District 28.
Good Speaker, I rise to debate in support. I debated doing that because it's an appropriations bill, but in hearing what the good gentlemen have both shared, I would agree. I would second that in many ways. But my question would be this: if we don't pass this, then they have nothing. And to me, I think that's important that we still keep the money on the table for our mental health receivers. And yes, we need to work on finding additional dollars for them. I would agree.
Further debate? Good lady from District 35.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the lady from Representative Bell, please?
The good lady from District 25.
25, thank you, sir. Would she yield to a question?
I would yield, good lady.
The lady yields.
Thank you. I'm remiss in not being able to pull my bill up quick enough. Could you please tell me what the governor recommended in his recommendation on this budget?
Lady from 25.
Thank you, good lady. There is one item in this budget that we did not fund that the governor did recommend. And there was some money from the sale of some old buildings that was to go out to the communities. And in studying that, Mr. Speaker and good lady, we found there was no organization there, no bank account, so to speak, to accept that startup money for the pilot. And that would have been about $477. And other than that, we use his budget as a blueprint and then adjust as we go. And as you know, we're both at 3% increase in our budgets. That's the one item I do remember. I can't give you a bottom number on that, but that I do know. We'll have to wait until there's more organization for that money to go. It would have been one-time money.
Thank you. Thank you, lady.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, would the good lady from District 6 care to close the debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just like to point out again that a number of us worked diligently on these particular divisions of the Health and Welfare Department to try to realign and work for efficiencies so that the department could work at its most competitive. And the gentleman from District 6 is correct in the importance of the mental health budget, but there are also other initiatives that are part of the improvement of how we deliver mental health services, and those are ongoing and very important as well. This particular budget, however, addresses these line items and the expenditures required for these three departments. So I'd urge you to pass this, and then we'll move on to the other elements of the health and welfare. Thank you.
The debate is closed. The question is, shall House Bill 293 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 50 aye, 12 nay, 8 absent, excused. House Bill 293 has passed the House. Is there a correction to title? Hearing none, House Bill 293 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration House Bill 258. Good lady from District 11.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House this morning. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the further reading of House Bill 258, please.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good lady is recognized to open the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 258, I think, is a bill that you are all going to appreciate. It actually makes an amendment to Section 18-3302, which is the concealed weapons portion of the code. And this particular bill was actually brought forward to me by a constituent who applied for a concealed weapons license, was accepted, and then asked to receive a copy of his background check and wanted to know really what was on it. And because there was some confusion in the code and no one was quite sure if he was allowed to have it or if he could have it and who would give it to him, he came and asked that that be clarified. And that's what House Bill 258 is all about. So it makes one little insertion on page 2, line 41, that says, in the event the sheriff has collected a fee to cover the cost of processing the fingerprints for the records check, the sheriff shall provide the applicant with a copy of the results of the record check. And so from here on out, hopefully the idea is that if you apply for a concealed weapons license, you request a copy of your background check, you will be able to get that from your sheriff. And this was constituent driven. I think it's constituent friendly, and I would certainly ask your support and a green light. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Gentleman from 10.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, would the good lady from 11 yield for a question?
Will the lady yield?
I'll yield. Thank you.
Lady yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good lady. My question for you, good lady from 11, is do the sheriff's office will they charge a fee to obtain a copy of the report?
Lady from 11.
Mr. Speaker and good gentlemen, the sheriff's office will not charge you a fee for a copy of the report. You actually paid for the report when you applied for your concealed weapons license, and the Sheriff's Association backs this bill and said you really do deserve a copy of it without a fee.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Gentleman from 15.
Mr. Speaker, will the lady from 11 please yield to a question?
Will the lady yield?
Mr. Speaker, I'll yield.
The lady yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good lady, does this law violate NOUs or federal law? Because this information comes from NCIC, from the federal government. And I know that local police forces are not allowed to share any other computer interactings that they pull up from NCIC with anyone outside their police departments. So my question is, will this violate that agreement and law with the federal government regarding their NCIC computers?
Lady from 11.
Mr. Speaker, good gentleman, no, that does not. Actually, this was researched by the Sheriff's Association, and the difference is that this is actually a civil proceeding and that you are requesting a background check in regards to something civil. If it were to be for something criminal, you would not receive that copy.
Gentleman from 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the good lady yield for another question?
Will the lady yield?
The lady yields. Thank you.
Lady yields.
Good lady. My understanding of background check for a concealed weapons permit isn't about civil background checks. It's about criminal background checks. And criminal background checks, again, go to NCIC. And those computer readings and information are not allowed to be shared. They must remain tightly sealed within the law enforcement. So this is a criminal background check and not a civil background check.
Lady from 11.
Mr. Speaker and good gentlemen, what I can stand here and tell you was that this was researched prior to coming here. The Sheriff's Association did research it with the Idaho State Police, who in turn checked with the FBI, and we were given the all clear on this.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall House Bill 258 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 62 ayes, 0 nay, 8 absent, excused. House Bill 258 has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none, House Bill 258 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1025. Good lady from District 19.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask with unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1025.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good lady is recognized to open the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 1025 amends Idaho County Option Kitchen and Table Wine Act by increasing the maximum container size for wine the distributor or importer may accept or use from a 1-gallon container to a 15-gallon container without having to receive permission from the director of the Idaho State Police Department. It is important to note that Idaho wineries can also be distributors and importers of wine and are licensed to do so. Idaho's grape and wine industry asks for the change from 1 gallon to a maximum of 15 gallons for the following reasons. The 1-gallon provision in statute was drafted in 1971 and during a time when Idaho had no wine industry. The 1-gallon number was likely modeled after the largest wine container in other states who were bottling and selling wines at the time. 1-gallon containers are not current industry practice, as many wineries outside of Idaho bottle larger containers of wine, such as 6 liters, 9 liters, and 12-liter bottles, and multi-gallon wine totes. Idaho wineries have been receiving numerous requests from restaurants and individuals to acquire larger containers of wine for selling wine by the glass or for pouring wine at special events, such as weddings. Wine purchased in larger containers cost less and is easier for a restaurant, bar, or caterer to handle instead of having to open several smaller bottles and pack around several cases of wine. Other states are currently selling wines in excess of 1-gallon containers to consumers and don't have to obtain permission from the Idaho State Police Department. This is competing with Idaho's wine industry, who cannot currently sell wine in containers larger than 1 gallon without receiving permission from the Idaho State Police. A question you may ask is, if we implement this change to a maximum of 15 gallons, would Idaho be the most liberal of Western states when it comes to wine container size? Members of the grape and wine industry, coupled with Wine America, conducted some research by contacting alcohol beverage control boards and offices in many Western states. The data conducted showed that Idaho is currently the second most restrictive state when it comes to regulating the size of wine containers at the 1-gallon size. Utah and Washington also have restrictions. Utah's restriction is 1.5 liter and Washington's is 18 liters, which is 4.752 gallons. The bordering states of Nevada, Montana, Wyoming, and Oregon do not have any container size restrictions for wine. California and Colorado also do not have any container size restrictions for wine. Idaho's grape and wine industry believes that increasing the maximum container size to 15 gallons is a good compromise when you compare it to 6 states in the West, 4 of Idaho's bordering states that have no wine container size restrictions and are competing with Idaho businesses. The 15-gallon container size also mirrors what Idaho's beer industry has been doing. Members of the grape and wine industry met with Alcohol Beverage Control and the beer and wine distributors, and both entities are in agreement with this legislation. Food Producers of Idaho also supports this legislation. There is also no fiscal impact to the general fund. Idaho's grape and wine industry is one of our fastest growing agricultural industries that supplies about $100 million in revenue to Idaho's economy, creates 550 full-time jobs, and over the last 2 years has paid over $1.5 million in state wine excise taxes, of which 12% goes to substance abuse programs and 83% goes to Idaho's general fund. On behalf of this industry, I ask for your support of Senate Bill 1025. I stand for any questions.
Is there further debate? Good lady from District 11.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to declare Rule of 38, this is a client of my husband's.
Duly noted, and it will be recorded in the journal. Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1025 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 56 ayes, 6 nay, 8 absent excused. Senate Bill 1025 has passed the House. Is there correction to the title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1025 will be transmitted to the Senate.
Mr. Speaker,
The lady from District 5.
I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Lady has the floor.
Good ladies and gentlemen, please join in welcoming back to this body Representative Dick Harwood. And he had his lovely wife Carol up there with him a little bit ago, but good to see you.
Welcome back to the House, Representative. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1049 as amended in the House. Good gentleman from District 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1049 as amended in the House.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good ladies and gentlemen. The purpose of this legislation is to modify the membership of the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission to be appointed by the governor and comprised of knowledgeable experts and stakeholders. Establish members' terms, election of his officers, commission membership compensation, frequency of meeting, staffing, and other duties, and provide for an ability to designate hearing officers and to establish advisory committees related to oil and gas, to change the filing of certain applications from the Idaho Department of Lands to the Commission. These changes are consistent with the composition and authorities afforded similar commissions in a variety of other states. And if I might, this section of law amends Section 47-317. The current members on the Oil and Gas Commission are the Land Board, which is our constitutional officers. So they have realized that they don't have a whole lot of knowledge in oil and gas and have decided then to appoint new members to this one. And the membership makeup will be 1 member with knowledge in oil and gas, 1 member knowledgeable in geology, 1 member knowledgeable in water, 1 private landowner with surface and mineral rights in an area with oil and gas activity, and 1 private landowner without mineral rights. The exact process for member elections has not been determined, but they will be appointed by the governor to 4-year terms. The terms will be staggered initially to avoid all 5 terms expiring at the same time. With that, ladies and gentlemen of the body, I would ask for your green light. I think this, as we have started exploring gas in Idaho, I think it's a good thing to establish a commission that oversees this. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Gentleman from District 17.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the gentleman from 22 a question.
Gentleman yields.
Will the gentleman yields?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was just wondering what public checks and balances there are on the commission, in the sense that there's no one on the commission who is elected local official or elected state official or whatnot. Are there any kinds of public checks and balances on what the commission decides to do and its actions?
Gentleman from 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentleman from 17. I believe these are all private citizens, and I believe that gives us some oversight over it, and I believe the governor also and the Senate will have to confirm the members on this commission as they do other members, so that'll give us some public oversight of how this commission operates.
Thank you.
Is there further debate? Good lady from District 9.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, any rules that these folks come up with, they will also come back to us, so we really will have legislative oversight.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1049, as amended in the House, pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 56 aye, 6 nay, 8 absent, and excused. Senate Bill 1049, as amended in the House, has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none. Senate Bill 1049, as amended in the House, will be transmitted to the Senate. The gentleman from District 14.
Mr. Speaker, due to the absence of the floor sponsor, I'd ask unanimous consent that Senate Bill 1013, as amended in the House, hold its place on the third reading calendar one legislative day.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Speaker, I'd say till Monday, actually, because we won't be here tomorrow.
Unanimous consent request to hold that bill on the third reading calendar until Monday. Is there an objection? Hearing none, so ordered. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1057 as amended. Good lady from District 31.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would request unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1057 as amended.
You've all heard the request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the lady is recognized to open the debate.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this bill is, the purpose of this bill is to facilitate visits by kindergarten teachers to the parents of their students to help strengthen the working relationship between the teacher, the parents, or guardians, and the students. This legislation allows for kindergarten teachers to visit the parents of their students the first week of the school year. Such visits can take place at the school, at the student's home, or at another location agreed to by the teacher and the parents or guardians. Also, this is not a mandatory program, and there's no additional money allocated, and the teachers will still receive their regular salaries.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. Oh, pardon me, good lady from District 8.
Pardon me for being slow, Mr. Speaker, but I just have a question for the lady, if she will yield.
Will the lady from District 31 yield to a question?
Yes, I will.
The lady yields.
Thank you. Am I to understand that a kindergarten teacher cannot already visit a parent of a student without this legislation? Does there have to be an organization?
Lady from 31.
Mr. Speaker, lady from
8.
District 8, this would allow them during that first week of school to take that time and go and make those visits during the school day also. So they would still be getting their paid, but it would be allow them that time during that first week of school to make those visits.
Follow up, Mr. Speaker?
Will the lady yield further?
Yes.
Lady yields.
Okay, just so I'm clear, the first week of school, and we are talking about kindergarten, the teacher can absent herself from the classroom to visit a parent and still get her pay. She can't do it after 5 o'clock or before 8 o'clock in the morning?
Lady from 31.
Mr. Speaker, lady from District 8, yes, that is correct. She will be allowed to go during the school day to make those visits.
Thank you.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1057 as amended pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? Representative Moline, how do you vote? Representative Moline votes aye. Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 42 aye, 18 nay, 10 absent, excused. Senate Bill 1057 has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none. Senate Bill 1057, as amended, will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1091, as amended. Good gentleman from District 21.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1091, as amended.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman has the floor.
Good members of the House, this bill does 4 things. First, it changes the funding formula for the Idaho Digital Learning Academy. Current code would calculate the annual funding at nearly $10 million. This new formula results in a $3.3 million savings and is already the funding assumed in the budgets by JFAC. Second, this bill provides ongoing funding for the online portal that will list and rate available online classes. Funding for this portal was established earlier this year when we passed House Bill 65. Third, this bill brings back the dual credit for early completers program, one of the babies in the bathwater of Proposition 3. It goes further by paying for AP exams for early completers. Finally, this bill makes some minor modifications to the 8 and 6 program to ensure that school districts are helpful in assisting participants through that program. This bill has the support of the Idaho School Boards Association, the Idaho Association of School Administrators. The Idaho Education Association is neutral. This bill passed the Senate unanimously, and the Education Committee sent it out with a unanimous do pass recommendation. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1091 as amended pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Representative Rushi. after the roll call. Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 61 aye, 0 nay, 9 absent excused. Senate Bill 1091 as amended has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1091 as amended will be transmitted to the Senate. Good gentleman from District 6.
Mr. Speaker, personal privilege.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to apologize to the Speaker and the Clerk. My fingers are just too fast on the phone here this morning.
I'm sure that's the reason. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1098. Good gentleman from District 33.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would ask unanimous consent that the further reading of Senate Bill 1098 be dispensed with.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman is recognized to open the debate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. This legislation restores a feature of the Students Come First legislation that was rejected by Proposition 1. Prior to 2011, if both parties agreed, negotiations between school boards and representatives of professional teachers organizations could be held in public. But the law did not compel them to hold their negotiations in public. In fact, in most cases, they were commonly closed. Well, this legislation requires that all negotiations are held in public and open to the public, requires that all documents exchanged between parties be subject to public disclosure laws, and requires that notices of meetings be posted as early as practicable, 24 hours and on front page. Okay. Normally 24 hours. I'm so happy to sponsor this legislation, ladies and gentlemen of the House. It's supported by all the stakeholders, including the Idaho Education Association, the Idaho School Boards Association, and the Association of School Administrators. It's good legislation. I believe it was Edmund Burke that once said that truth will never be overwhelmed by falsehood in a fair and open encounter. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this legislation helps create that fair and open encounter where truth will indeed prevail. So I urge a yes vote. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, thank you.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1098 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Representative Moline votes aye. I think. Yes. Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 61 aye, 0 nay, 9 absent and excused. Senate Bill 1098 has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1098 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1048 as amended. A good lady from District 35.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask unanimous consent that we dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1048 as amended.
You've all heard the request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We did see this bill in our Transportation Committee as well, and we were told that the whole idea of the bill is to tell the Department of Transportation they may not suspend a driver's license for a parking violation. And there is a story behind this, ladies and gentlemen, that may sound odd to you, but as was brought to us in the committee, there was a business person from Idaho Falls that went on a business trip. While he was gone, one of the family members borrowed his car and drove it into downtown Idaho Falls and got a parking ticket. And the parking ticket was delivered to the person, but the father, being gone on business, never got to see the parking ticket. He did not show up at the hearing in court, and so he was then charged with a misdemeanor. By law, the Department of Transportation has to take the driver's license in that case. The father didn't know what to do about this. He went to ask for some legal help. There was none. And it is felt that probably the Department of Transportation is not in the business of wanting to make money by taking driver's licenses away from people and then them having to reinstate that driver's license. It's pretty costly. I think the family member that borrowed the car probably will pay that. But nevertheless, it's probably a good idea for us to help the Department of Transportation. They have to do what the law tells them to do. And so we're saying we'll change this law so you do not have to withhold and take a person's driver's license away from them. You can fine them, yes, but not take their driver's license away from them if they do not pay a parking ticket. And I don't need to declare 38, Mr. Speaker, because I don't have one. So I would ask for a green light, sir.
Good lady, I want to hear the rest of the story. Is there further debate? Good gentleman from District 32.
Mr. Chairman.
Have your kids been in Idaho Falls?
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. It was not my family. And I don't live in Idaho Falls. But there's a better part to the story that the good lady from 35 didn't tell you. I encourage you to look at the text of the first bill that was presented and then look at the engrossed or amended version. What happened is this bill was created by one of our friends across the way who happens to also be an attorney. And he did some eloquent work, and later as they got looking at the bill, the Transportation Department came to his aid and suggested a fix. And you may look at the amended version. On the amended version, they simply changed one word. They added the word parking. So I think it's a lesson to all of us that sometimes we go to great lengths to fix a problem when we maybe need to ask more questions, and we can find much simpler solutions here. I think it is a great bill, and I encourage your yes vote.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1048 as amended pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes.
Where else are you going to go?
Has every member voted?
Have reservations.
Representative Agidius. Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 62 ayes, 0 nay, 8 absent, excused. Senate Bill 1048 as amended has passed the House. As our correction to title, hearing none, Senate Bill 1048 as amended will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration House Bill 1034. No? Senate Bill 1034. Good gentleman from District 23.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1034.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman is recognized to open the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a great bill because it gets rid of a statute that has existed for a long, long time and is no longer used. The purpose of this bill is to repeal Idaho Code 2625, which is obsolete statute that requires a sheriff and commissioners to get written permission from the governor before moving a prisoner from one jail to another. Well, this has been going on for a long time without his permission. The process is archaic and has no place in modern detention practices. The governor has no oversight power as to the running of county jails. I request your green light.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1034 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes.
Yeah.
Has every member voted? Representative Anderst. Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 62 ayes, 0 nay, 8 absent, excused. Senate Bill 1034 is passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1034 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1035. Good lady from District 7.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of Senate Bill 1035 be dispensed with.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good lady is recognized to open the debate.
Mr. Speaker and the members of the body of the House, the purpose of this bill is to allow sheriff's detention deputies to act as peace officers so that they can arrest an individual when there is probable cause to believe a person has committed a crime within the confines of a county jail. Detention deputies are already trained and certified on the laws of arrest through the Post Council. By allowing the detention deputies to make arrests, it frees up road deputies and city count officers from having to come to the jail to make arrests that occur within the jail. Such crimes including defacing or destroying jail property, inmate violence against inmates, fashioning weapons, bringing in contrabands, and violence against detention personnel. Once the arrest is made, the crime will be investigated by detectives and a neutral prosecutor will make the charging decision. I ask for your green light on this bill.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The Senate, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1035 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Representative Nielsen. Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 55 aye, 7 nay, 8 absent, excused. Senate Bill 1035 has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1035 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1097 as amended. Oh, excuse me, it's 1093. Good gentleman from District 23.
Mr. Speaker, I would ask that we not declare this bill today or work on this bill today. I have not received the information that I needed from the people who sponsored the bill.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request that Senate Bill 1093 hold its place on the third reading calendar for one legislative day, read Monday. Is there an objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Good gentleman from District 14.
Mr. Speaker, next time give me a call, good representative. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that Senate Bill 1097 as amended hold its place on the third reading calendar also due to a lack of information the sponsors waiting for.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1097 as amended will hold its place on the third reading calendar. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1128. Good lady from District 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for unanimous request to not read the full reading of Senate Bill 1128.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good lady is recognized to open the debate.
This is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation for the State Independent Living Council, also known as SILC. The mission of SILC is to promote the independent living philosophy for all Idahoans with disabilities, choice, self-determination, and access for all. This budget reflects a maintenance of operation and is actually a 27% reduction from last year, as the agency was able to identify $156,800 of spending authority that was no longer needed. The changes from last year include employee benefit costs and adjustments for the statewide cost allocation process. The biggest change to the SILK appropriation is a transparency change, not a financial. This change has a net zero impact to the general fund. The total appropriation is $715,900 and a cap of 5 full-time employees. I ask for your green light.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1128 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 60 aye, 2 nay, 8 absent, excused. Senate Bill 1128 has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1128 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1129. Good lady from District 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask to dispense with ask unanimous request to dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1129.
You've all heard the request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor.
This is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation to the Office of Species Conservation. The mission of the Office of Species Conservation is to coordinate policies and programs related to the conservation of threatened, endangered, and candidate species in Idaho. The bill appropriates $478,300 from the general fund, $15,000 in dedicated funds, and $12,749,500 in federal funds, for a total of $13,242,800. The bill limits the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions to 12 and provides guidance for employee compensation. The bill includes $11,000 for the increased cost of employer-paid health and retirement benefits and $500 for statewide cost allocation. Statewide cost allocation counts for costs that are allocated among all state agencies based on their usage and is, in this case, an increase of $400. The budget is a 1.1% increase in the general fund and a 0.1% increase overall.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1129 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 53 aye, 8 nay, 9 absent, excused. Senate Bill 1129 has passed the House. Is there correction to the title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1129 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1130. Good gentleman from District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to dispense with reading of Senate Bill 1130.
You've all heard the request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the body. This bill appropriates $1,198,700 in dedicated funds and $219,300 in federal funds for a total of $1,418,000 to the Office of Energy Resources for fiscal year 2014. The Office of Energy Resources is authorized by executive order, and its powers and authorities are outlined in the Executive Order 2012-08. This bill caps the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions at 10 and provides guidance for employee compensation. It includes funding for the employer's share of increased costs for health insurance and retirement benefits and accounts for a decrease in statewide cost allocation. The bill provides carryover authority for unspent stimulus money from fiscal year 2013 into fiscal year 2014 estimated at only $20,000 to $30,000, to accommodate final site visits and reporting requirements for energy activities that the Office of Energy Resources has been conducting. There is no general fund money in this budget. Funding is from geothermal royalties, grants from interstate agencies, legal settlements from 1980s gasoline price fixing, and federal grants. This budget is a reduction of 46% from the current year. This is due to the completion of stimulus projects and a reduction in federal funding available for fiscal year 2014. With that, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask for your green light.
Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1130 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 46 aye, 15 nay, 9 absent excused. Senate Bill 1130 has passed the House. Is there correction to the title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1130 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1131. Good gentleman from District 30.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of Senate Bill 1131 be dispensed with.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman is recognized. Open the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen, this is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation bill for the Endowment Fund Investment Board. The Endowment Fund Investment Board is responsible for managing the investments of the land grant endowments, the State Insurance Fund, the Judges Retirement Fund, the Ritter Island Endowment, and the Trail of the Coeur d'Alene Endowment. As of June 30th, 2012, the department had $1.9 billion under management. The bill appropriates $624,800 in dedicated funds for fiscal year 2014 for the operations of the agency and authorizes a continuous appropriation for consulting fees, bank custodial fees, and portfolio-related and external costs. The budget includes funding for benefit cost replacement items and an adjustment for statewide cost allocation. It also includes a line item that adjusts the dedicated fund source based on the proportion of the budget invested for each beneficiary. There is a second line item in the amount of $19,200 to provide vacation payoff and allow for the manager to double fill the senior accounting position who is retiring in fiscal year 2014 after 41 years of service. And I'd like to say thank you for their 41 years of service. This budget is a 2.8% increase in dedicated funds from the current year. Finally, this bill contains intent language recognizing the State Land Board has been approved to transfer into land grant incomes funds and available for fiscal year 2014. The total distribution is $48,844,800, which is an increase of 2.8%. Mr. Speaker, I ask for your green light. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Gentleman from District 31.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In accordance with Rule 38, I'd like to declare that I am a member of the Endowment Fund Investment Board, and I do intend to vote.
Duly noted. In the Journal, we will record your declaration. Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1131 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 54 ayes, 7 nay, 9 absent excused. Senate Bill 1131 has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1131 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1132. The gentleman from District 32.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I ask to dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1132.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman is recognized to open the debate.
Senate Bill 1132 is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation for the Department of Fish and Game in the amount of $89,045,400 from dedicated and federal funds. It caps the number of full-time equivalent positions at 567 and provides guidance for employee compensation. The bill includes $3,628,900, or slightly less than last year, for replacement items. Replacement items include vehicles, snow machines, ATVs, heavy equipment, building improvements, property maintenance, computer equipment, body armor, radio equipment, and fish tracking equipment. The bill includes funding for 18 line items. Number 1, grant for shooting range improvements. Number 2, capital outlay for fish screens and boating access. Number 3, funding for personnel to maintain the current level of wolf monitoring and management. Number 4, the project to improve native fish survival. Number 5, funding to complete and staff the Springfield Fish Hatchery near American Falls. 6, money for hunter and angler education. 7, federal funding for big game aerial surveys. 8, projects to improve wildlife habitat at wildlife management areas. Number 9, improvements to fish habitat in Potlatch, Lemhi, and Persimmon rivers. Number 10, projects to improve wildlife habitat due to hydropower development. 11, funding for expanded fish hatchery operations. 12, money to evaluate fisheries program success. Program to evaluate fisheries program success. 13, projects to improve wildlife habitat in Albany Falls, Palisades, and Minidoka dams. Additional money for regional operations and data center operations. 15, federal grants to assist federal law enforcement. 17, federal monies to manage Yellowstone grizzly bears. 18, federal monies for wetland restoration and monitoring. And lastly, state and federal monies to demolish the old Lewiston regional offices. Overall, the budget is $2.6 billion increase in personnel costs, $4.6 million increase in operating expenditures, and $11.2 million reduction in capital outlays from the current budget, for a total reduction of 4.3%. The decrease is due to the removal of the $13 million one-time funding project provided last year for the Springfield hatcheries. Again, I'd like to recommend the body that there are no general funds in this budget. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Good lady from District 31.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman from 32 yield to a question,
The gentleman
please?
yield.
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman yield.
The capping of your, the employees, what was the, is that an increase in employees in the department?
Gentleman from 32.
Mr. Speaker, good lady from 31. The Fish and Game has been capped at 567 employees for 3 or 4 years. So it is not an increase in departmenting of full-time FTEs for the department.
Thank you.
Is there further debate? Good lady from District 11.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to declare Rule of 38, one of my husband's clients may or may not benefit from this, and I request unanimous consent to be excused from voting.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request from the good lady from District 11 to be excused from voting on Senate Bill 1132. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the lady may be excused. Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1132 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 42 aye, 18 nay, 1 excused, and 9 absent and excused. Senate Bill 1132 has passed the House. Is there a correction to title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1132 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1139. Good lady from District 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for unanimous consent to not read Senate Bill 1139.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation for public health districts. It appropriates $8,232,500 from the general fund to the districts, which reflects a maintenance budget. The districts, per Idaho Code, determine the disbursement methodology in allocating state funds among the 7 regions. The current methodology considers population, poverty rate, and local contributions. Local tax dollars to the 7 districts is typically close to the amount received from the state, and districts also receive funding from contracts, often with the Division of Public Health and the Department of Health and Welfare, and fees. The mission of the public health districts is to prevent disease, disability, and premature death, to promote healthy lifestyles, and protect and promote the health and quality of our environment. This is a 3.6% decrease from the 2013 appropriation. I ask for your green light.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1139 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 53 aye, 8 nay, 9 absent and excused. Senate Bill 1139 has passed the House. Is there a correction to title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1139 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1140. The gentleman from District 32.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker.
Good afternoon.
I ask for unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1140.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request and the sarcastic remark. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman is recognized to open the debate.
Mr. Speaker, there was no sarcasm intended in the remark the last time we were in the morning and now we're in the afternoon. I was just merely indicating that it's now slightly after 12.
Pardon me, duly noted.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't know if you had the event of the clock above your head that we could see from this side. So, Mr. Speaker, members of the body, forgive me of my attempt at humor. This is the fiscal year 2014 budget for the budget appropriation for the medical boards. It appropriates $489,600 and 3 FTPs to the Board of Dentistry, $1,617,500 and 13.8 FTPs to the Board of Medicine, $1,240,500 and 10.5 full-time positions to the Board of Nursing, $1,489,600 and 14 full-time positions to the Board of Pharmacy, and $328,600 and 2 FTPs to the Board of Veterinary Medicine, for a total of $5,075,800 and a total of 43.3 FTPs. It includes the following line items: $157,200 for an online licensing systems at the boards of dentistry, medicine, and pharmacy, $17,600 for quality assurance staff salary increase at the Board of Medicine, $3,300 for salary increase to the Associate Director of the Board of Medicine, $18,100 for the Physician Recovery Network contract at the Board of Medicine, $100,000 for Workforce Development Analyst at the Board of Nursing, $5,300 for a salary increase to the Executive Director of the Board of Nursing, $5,400 for new computers at the Board of Nursing, and $50,800 for a new technical record specialist at the Board of Pharmacy. $58,900 in federal funds for prescription monitoring program grant at the Board of Pharmacy, a $5,000 object transfer from the operating expenditures to the personnel costs for staff salary increases at the Board of Pharmacy. With that, Mr. Speaker, the budget's before you.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1140 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 55 aye, 6 nay, 9 absent, excused. Senate Bill 1140 has passed the House. Is there a correction to title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1140 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1143. The gentleman from District 1.
Mr. Speaker, I hesitate to do this, but good morning. In northern Idaho, it's still morning.
Duly noted, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Don't start that.
I would request unanimous consent to dispense with reading of Senate Bill 1143.
You've all heard the unanimous consent requests. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation for the Division of Veteran Services. It appropriates $971,500 from the general fund, $17,998,600 in dedicated funds, and $10,396,600 in federal funds, for a total of $29,366,700 and 316.7 FTP. It includes $211,900 in dedicated funds and associated FTP for 6 new direct care staff at the State Veterans Home, $64,800 in federal funds for prescription and medical director contracts, $678,700 in dedicated funds, and $178,300 in federal funds for new capital outlay and operating equipment, including clinical, billing software, communications equipment, medical and therapy equipment, facilities and maintenance equipment, and 1 replacement vehicle. $635,000 in dedicated funds and $300,000 in federal funds for agency-funded DPW projects, including a heating cooling system and parking lot repairs at the Lewiston home, replacements and improvements at the veteran cemeteries, and repairs at the Boise home. $110,000 in dedicated funds for the suicide hotline, $50,000 in dedicated funds for IT services relating to the inclusion of veterans' designation on driver's license, $5,000 for enhanced drug testing of division applicants for employment, and $250,000 in dedicated funds to study the feasibility of a 4th veterans home. With that, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen, I would ask for your green light in support of our Division of Veteran Services. Thank you.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1143 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Pounding on the keys won't help. The members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? Representative Burgoyne votes aye. The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 61 ayes, 0 nay, 9 absent, excused. Senate Bill 1043 has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none. Senate Bill 1143 will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1144. Good gentleman from District 30.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of Senate Bill 1144 be dispensed with.
You all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen, this is the fiscal year 2014 appropriation for the Agricultural Research and Extension Service in the amount of $24,474,700. This service is a component of the University of Idaho's College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and it receives its own legislative appropriation. Line item 1 provides an additional $1 million, of which $650,000 are for operating expenditures and $350,000 for one-time capital outlay. Line item number 2 provides $13,600 of operating and maintenance dollars for the lab at Kimberly Research Center. This budget reflects the 3.5% increase in general funds. This appropriation brings Ag Research and Extension Services up to 86% of its fiscal year 2010 general fund appropriation. Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen, food producers of Idaho support Senate Bill 1144. I ask for your green light.
Is there further debate? Hearing none, the debate is closed. The question is, shall Senate Bill 1144 pass the House? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. The roll call shows 60 aye, 1 nay, 9 absent, excused. Senate Bill 1144 has passed the House. Is there correction to title? Hearing none, Senate Bill 1144 will be transmitted to the Senate. The gentleman from District 14.
Mr. Speaker, will you put the House at ease for one quick moment, please?
The House will be at ease, subject to call of the chair.
Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment.
That wasn't a pound. The House will be in order prior to going at ease. The House was at the 11th order. The House is at the 11th order. Good gentleman from District 14.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the remaining bills on the third reading calendar hold their place until Monday, March 18th.
You've all heard the request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, so ordered. The House will now advance to the 15th order of business. Announcements. Are there announcements? Gentleman from 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Judiciary and Rules was scheduled to meet on adjournment, but we'll meet at 1:15.
Sir, are there further announcements? Gentleman from 6.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to announce that we've all successfully survived the Ides of March.
I know, but what time is it in northern Idaho? Further announcements? Clerk may read.
Following are the standing committee meeting announcements for this afternoon. Business Committee will not meet. Commerce and Human Resources Committee will not meet this afternoon. Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee will meet. Representative Luker just told us that, right?
1:15.
1:15.
At 1:15. And Resources and Conservation Committee will not meet this afternoon. For Monday morning, Education Committee will meet at 9 a.m., East Wing Room 41, the Mordaunt Chairman. Health and Welfare Committee will meet Monday morning at 9 a.m., East Wing Room 20, Wood Chairman. Revenue and Taxation Committee will meet Monday morning at 9 a.m., East Wing Room 42, Collins Chairman. And State Affairs Committee will meet Monday morning at 9 a.m., Lurcher Chairman.
Mr. Speaker,
Good gentleman from 13.
Revenue and Tax will not meet Monday morning.
The House will now advance to the 16th order of business. Adjournment, the House is at the 16th order. The gentleman from District 14.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn until the hour of 10:30 a.m., Monday, March 18, 2013.
Mr. Speaker, it's with great gratitude I second that motion.
If you've all heard the motion, all in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the House stands adjourned until the hour of 10:30 a.m., Monday, March 18, 2013.
Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live, the House channel. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association,